What is up, guys? My name is Mark, and today we're tackling Just Know HOA. For those that are unfamiliar, HOA is Homeowners Association, and there's a lot of juicy stories in there, so I thought we'd give this a go today as a little extra bonus and see how we go from there. If you're new here and enjoy the content, why not click that subscribe, that like button, and maybe that notification bell. And as always, support the artists, and let's get into today's stories. Our first story is from Swifty 2000. How my mum shamed the HOA into disbanding. My mum lives in a nice, newer home community with a voluntary HOA. My mother, being the firecracker she is, refused to formally join the HOA, but agreed to do things she would do anyway to keep her home. We paid for her, she has a gardener, washed windows, etc. She never signed any documents, doesn't pay fees, but told the board she would adhere to the standards she didn't find silly. The volunteer president lives next to my mother, and this guy's never liked our family. Since my mom didn't join, he would knock on her door for friendly visits to tell her what rules she was violating. It was all very silly, and we continued to ignore him. His biggest pet peeve was her trash cans. They stayed out too long after trash pickup and said it was an eyesore for the rest of the neighborhood. Now I have to explain a few things about Mum. Mum is a double amputee, has dysfunctional side from stroke, is wheelchair bound, and is still about 95% independent. There's a few things she can't do, and bringing the trash cans in and out of the side gate is one of them. For that chore, my sister or myself come over the night before trash day and put them out, and the following evening to put them back in. He bitched and complained, wrote letters and called the city about her trash cans. This guy knew my mum was in a wheelchair, but he kept harassing her. It was after a winter storm that a trash can blew over and sprayed the neighborhood with trash overnight. It wasn't just her can, by the way, it was several. My sister and I walked the neighborhood and picked up the trash as soon as we could. Well, the president lost his mind. He gathered up other members of the board next trash day and stormed up to her house. He yelled at her through the screen door while other sycophants nodded their head. I happened to be there and was preparing to grab a broom and sweep the trash, yelling at my mum off our porch. But, to my mother's credit, she didn't yell back. She simply opened the door and rolled her wheelchair down the drive, and then my tiny mother struggled to pull the trash can back up the driveway with her one good arm. It was actually pretty sad. Mum hammed it up. She's adapted to a weak side, but you wouldn't know it from watching her that day. By the time she got the trash can halfway up the drive, the angry mob was glaring daggers at the president. I would find out later he never told him she was disabled and painted her as lazy, and most of the meetings were the president bitching about my mum and telling lies about what nightmare it was living next to her. After a round of muttered apologies, they scattered like roaches in the light. Once they left, I moved the trash cans in, and we had a good laugh. The volunteer HOA died very soon after that. Apparently no one wanted to attend the meetings that were a little more than glorified bitching sessions about my mum and other people in the neighborhood. The president had been harassing other homeowners and telling similar lies about them. He was a proven liar, and we almost never see him now. I'd say the neighborhood has gotten better at this point. This guy turned out to be the cause of all this strife, and without his influence, people began to talk to each other. Nowadays, people start to check by my mum during storms, and sometimes the trash cans will magically appear in the side yard on windy days, and Mum, in perfect fashion, sent out Christmas cards to all the neighbors. You may have seen this card in the stores, but as a raccoon on it and says, "Merry Trashmas." Gee whiz, what a knobhead of a president. Why would someone pick on... I was going to say you generally try to look out for people like that, but that sounds like I'm feeling sorry for her, and I don't mean it in that sort of way, but if I ever see someone that might need a little bit of help, even with the trash cans, you just try your best for them. You don't want to make them feel bad like they can't do it themselves, but at the same time, you feel like you want to help. Might be coming out totally wrong, but I know what I mean. Our next story is from Pardon My Giraffe. Petty HOA President Steve from his friend's ex-wife and daughter. Just saw this sub, and it reminded me of my friend. Not my story, but my neighborhood. My friend down the street was telling me about her parents' divorce a few years after it originally happened. The dad was caught cheating after 40 years of marriage, and his wife kicked him out. My friend was in the middle of school at the time. They was sad how everything changed about her personality while she was dealing with it. She became so mean and unaccepting to certain girls at school. I know she was going through a hard time, so I tried not to judge her for it, but I caught her out once when I thought she was hurting someone. Her mum changed all the locks and smashed the keypad to the garage door so their dad couldn't get back in the house. My friend didn't have a working house key anymore, and more than once I saw her sitting on the porch hours after school ended, and we tried to get her to come home with me instead. She was always too stubborn to say yes. Her dad's best friend was our HOA president, and a pretty terrible person. He was angry that his friend's ex-wife had kicked them out, and did what he could to make their lives harder. He sent photographers to their house when they weren't hanging to try and find anything he could find them for. They caught the developers trespassing on multiple occasions, got tons of letters of small repairs to make on the house. Then, the mailbox went missing. In our neighborhood, mailboxes are private property, but most of us have the cheapest option that came with the house. Not having one is a big fine, I guess, and the mailbox they were asked to replace, it was expensive. From what I remember, they had a fancy green metal mailbox to start with, so it's sad that it's to fit in with our ugly wooden ones. It's also worth noting that the crime rate in my area is non-existent, so it was a super random crime and very suspicious. A few weeks later, my friend's mum found pieces of her old mailbox in the trash outside her HOA president's house. She couldn't prove it and already had a new mailbox. But seriously, how petty is that? So just best friend is sticking up for the dad who done the dirty, who cheated on his wife, and then they're making both the daughter and the mum's life horrible. Some people just got like no morals at all, do they? It's just so ridiculous. Our next story is from Imp Lord of All. HOA wants to stop people from playing Pokemon Go. I live in an anti-Pokemon Go neighborhood. What do? I live in a suburban neighborhood in Oregon. Recently, for no reason, other than they're mostly crotchety old people, the residents have been particularly angry about people walking around the neighborhood playing Pokemon Go. We have 3 gyms. One is a park, one in a wetlands picnic area, and the other is our fountain that marks the entrance to the neighborhood. We also have one Pokestop, which is an area in the middle of the neighborhood that has a few memorial benches. They're claiming that we're playing on private property, which just isn't true. I did some research and these landmarks and sidewalks in our neighborhood are not private property, they are public property. Technically, you are only supposed to have children play on the play structure or use the picnic area if you pay your HOA dues. But there are no signs posted that explain this. Long story short, the HOA is claiming they're going to ask Niantic to take down the 3 gyms in the Pokestop in our neighborhood. If this happens, how do I and the other members of our neighborhood that are avid Pokemon Go players stop this/bring back the gyms? Dear. I'm so surprised people are still playing Pokemon Go. I remember when it first came out, there's people, because we got a few of these like gyms and stuff around our area, Pokemon gyms earlier, and you see massive groups of people gathering in this. Bloody hell, let's go right on it. I tried the game once, I just really did get into it. Next story is from LNX64. HOA vandalizes father's truck, gets immediate justice. I originally posted this on r/militia compliance, but they removed it for some reason. As far as I know, it didn't violate any rules. Please note, I'm not complaining about the HOA. This is merely a story of what happened to my father and I when I was living there. I'll paste it below. This happened a few years back. Our HOA has always been known to be sneaky and to flat out give false accusations on homeowners. Especially in this day with security cameras, we could pretty easily spot out who the investigators are. Most recently, a homeowner was told she was supposed to get approval before start reshingling her roof. The thing is, her roof hasn't been reshingled in 10 years, and she had no plans to do it. Things like that. Call it just a mistake, call it malicious. Well, a few years ago, we had our time to shine. It was a simple morning. I was still temporarily living with my father at the time. But one morning, we decided to go to get groceries, and we found that a pickup truck had been smashed into. Nothing was taken, it was just smashed into. In fact, I still have pictures from that day, just before the cops arrived. Cops arrived, they do some investigating, and find that rock inside the truck from a house down the street. And fortunately, they couldn't get them to admit the crime, nor could they prove it was them. Understandable, criminals have grabbed things they find, but it was suspicious. The rock, I should say, was a special kind of rock that no one in the neighborhood had. Some round, polished type, very unique. After this instance, I installed a security camera on his house. Well, not 2 days later, we get HOA violation for a vehicle eyesore that needs to be removed. Just 2 days later. I'm confused how such a letter could have been written up so fast, but I started to suspect foul play. One day we were home and had a knock on the door. The HOA actually called a code inspection officer. The week hadn't even been over yet, so the parts to fix the truck weren't delivered yet. We weren't paying expediters shipping for damages we didn't cause, and the truck was so old, insurance would probably just tow for it. The truck is sentimental to him, so I wasn't going to get rid of it. It still ran great. Code inspection has my father that vehicles do not run need to be removed. They both stop talking and take a second, and both almost say at the same time, "Don't I know you?" Turns out the code inspection officer went to the same church as my father and knew each other. This isn't malicious compliance yet. We're already just beginning. The officer tells my father if he can show the truck starts, he's going to write it up as being in code. My father starts the truck just fine and the engine isn't damaged. He tells him to go on with his day and have a good one. At this point, we're furious because they're starting to suspect the HOA may have did this, and there's no way they could have possibly known so fast. Unfortunately, our turn of the street had no neighbors with security cameras until I installed one on our house, so it caught nothing specific to our incident. Down the street, there's people supposedly broke into a car as well, but the camera on the house was unable to see anything. Damn. Here's where the fun begins. Fast forward a couple of months after nothing happened, I decided to install a new dashcam in my car. I found a good one that uses Varia to power off the battery and can activate if there's any bumps to the car, even if the car is off. It just needs to be wired straight to the battery for this. It's a thinkware. A few days later, we got a violation notice for our mailbox being crooked. It wasn't crooked much. I do remember recently having an angle. Odd. I could just fix it, but my car was aiming straight at the mailbox. I'm thinking, no, this couldn't be possible, and it records if there's a bump. I take out the memory card, and apparently I either didn't configure it correctly, but it was recording the whole time. It never went into sleep mode. I watched as the investigator walks up to the mailbox and pushes the crooked, then writes down on his tablet his findings and takes a picture for records. I'm appalled at what I see. I have the proof I needed. Now, for the malicious compliance, they wanted us to come to the board meeting and present what is going on at our address. We haven't told them yet that we have pictures, but to summarize real fast how our HOA works, the board hires an outside company to do the grunt work. Let's call it Bench Management. We go to the meeting and sit down. Bench Management has a one in control of our account, and I swear to you she looked like a Karen, so the name fits for her. As time goes by in the meeting, we get to discuss what is happening at our house. We present the timelines and tell them about the truck being smashed, and just 2 days later we get a letter. We ask what dates the investigator was out for that time. Kara refuses to answer it. She argues ignorantly that she would keep better care of our stuff, as if it was our fault. Then comes the mailbox incident. We tell her that we have reason to believe that the investigator is the one that's causing damages to our property and is harassing us. Karen denies this and says that's impossible, and that she knows him personally. Oh, is that so? I ask. She says, yes, why? I then pull out my laptop out my book bag that I've been hiding, open up to the video file already loaded, and show it to the entire board. Enter Exhibit A, I said out loud, and played the video. Karen's face is bright red. She said that is not her investigator. I then also pulled out the letter about the mailbox, which was complete with date. It matches the cut-down timestamp on the video. She still tries to claim it's not them. No, it's a coincidence. I'm sorry, but you have a vandal and it's not us. It's not. I let the video play, knowing she's fallen into a pit hard right now. As the man walks towards my car, you can plain as day see Bench Management on his shirt. She's no longer red now, she's white as a ghost. The board looks over her and asks her what she has to say about this. Karen is silent and has nothing except a few noises which I assume was her brain trying to comprehend what just happened. I then proceed to bring up a previous case which I happen to remember before we left for a meeting, where we had a grass violation beside our house. Now this area they were claiming was actually not visible from the sidewalk due to the house's shape. I asked point blank, has at any time your investigators walked on our property illegally trespassing, knowing as per their rules they aren't allowed to do that? Karen is visibly shaking now and mutters out, no, of course not, with her head down, unable to maintain eye contact with me. She probably feels I have more evidence, but unfortunately I didn't. So I ask again. She asks, why? Our neighborhood, whom are lawyers, literally next door to us where the side of this wall was, stands up and says, actually, that's not true. I've witnessed one of your investigators go between our house and poke around the trash bins. Bingo. I didn't even realize she had this information. I couldn't have asked for a more better timing. Karen at this point just started arguing with our neighbors about no proof. The board proceeds to apologize for the incident, and they were going to discuss what was going to happen in the future about this. At that point, the meeting is over. A month passes and we get a letter that a new person will be in charge for Bench Management and new investigators. She was fired that night. Since she was fired, my father tells me we only get the occasional blip of errors, but they correct it immediately and don't bother us really anymore. Damn, HOA is crazy. I don't know if we get this kind of thing in the UK, like crooked, where we don't really have mailboxes like that you have out in the street like you do in the US, but a crooked mailbox, and then you're gonna get a fine for that sort of stuff. That's nuts. What the hell? Any of you guys part of a housing association, I'd love to know in the comments below. Please let me know. And if you enjoyed these stories, because if you don't enjoy them, then there's no point in me doing them, right? Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being here. It's really much appreciated. All your love and support recently. It's just been amazing. Thank you so much. Take care now. Much love.